Okay, let's unpack this. You're thinking about Maui, right?
Yeah.
The sun, the beach is lovely.
Yeah.
But then you hit the practical stuff, like getting around.
Mm.
And here's something that might, surprise you. Renting your car right there at Maui's Kahului Airport, OGG, could actually cost you a fair bit more than grabbing it just a short hop away.
Yeah, that's the key question we're digging into. If you're planning that Maui trip, or maybe just dreaming about it, could you be, well, overpaying without realizing it just by choosing the airport pickup?
Exactly. And we've actually looked into this. We've got data from the first, 5 months of 2024?
That's right, January through May, to really get a handle on these price differences. See if that airport convenience is, truly worth the extra cash.
Right. And the info we have comes from basically a weekly check on advertised rental prices in Maui.
And this is focusing on the big national brands, the ones you see on those online travel sites, the OTAs.
Yeah, the main players. Now, one thing to note up front, this analysis doesn't include the smaller local Maui rental companies.
Which is a good point, because those local outfits can sometimes be even cheaper. We actually have a blog post mentioning some local rates, right? So that's another angle worth considering.
Definitely something to keep in mind. But for today, our mission, really, is to give you the info you need to make a smart choice about where you rent your car in Maui.
Yeah, potentially saving you some decent money you could use elsewhere on your trip without adding a ton of hassle.
Absolutely. Think about it, that the potential saving we're going to talk about, it could easily cover, say, a nice dinner out, or maybe that snorkeling tour you were eyeing.
Or shave ice every single day.
Huh, exactly. So let's get to the core finding. What did the data show?
Okay, so on average, looking at Jan to May 2024, it cost $94 per week more to rent a car at Kahului Airport compared to nearby off-airport spots.
Wow, $94 a week. That's not insignificant.
Not at all. And put another way, that's an average saving of about 31% just by choosing an off-airport option.
31%. Can you give us the average costs?
Sure. During that period, the average weekly cost for an airport rental was around $308. Okay.
Whereas the average for off-airport was $214.
$300 versus $204. That's a clear difference right there. Over 2 weeks, that's nearly $200 saved.
It really is. Now, it's important for you, the listener, to know what kind of cars we're mostly talking about here.
Right, because these are the lowest advertised rates, yeah.
Exactly. So typically, we're looking at compact cars. Think Kia Rio, Chevy Spark, maybe a Nissan Versa, your basic budget-friendly options.
Gotcha. The smaller runabouts. So what does this mean if you need something bigger, like a Jeep or a convertible or an SUV for the family?
Well, the strong likelihood is that the price difference at 94 and off average is probably even greater for those larger, more expensive vehicles.
Ah, okay. So the percentage saving might be similar, but the actual dollar amount you save could be even higher on a bigger car.
Precisely. Those airport fees and the premium we'll get into, they tend to scale up with the base price of the car.
Okay. Now, you mentioned nearby off-airport locations. Let's clarify that, because off-airport could mean a few things, couldn't it? It could. Some off-airport places are still really close to OGG, maybe just a quick shuttle ride. Others might be near the resorts, and some are genuinely further away.
Right. And people might assume that renting near their resort, say in Kihei or Wailea down south, or maybe Kanapali out west, would be cheaper than the airport.
That's a common thought, yeah. But the analysis suggests that's often not the case for savings. Those resort locations, while super convenient if you're staying right there,
They often charge more.
they can, yes. There's often a sort of convenience factor, premium baked into the price because they know you're right there. Sometimes they're even more expensive than the airport.
So convenience costs, whether it's at the airport or the resort. Interesting. Is there any time when a resort rental might make sense financially?
Yes, there's a caveat. If you only need a car for a really short period, like just 1 or 2 days during your stay,
Okay.
then renting from that nearby resort location might actually be cheaper overall, even if the daily rate itself is higher than somewhere else.
How so?
Well, you save on the hassle and cost of getting to a more distant rental office for just a day's use. The total cost for that short rental could be less.
Ah, okay. So duration matters. A week-long rental, probably cheaper away from the resort. A one-day rental, maybe the resort spot wins out despite the higher daily rate. Makes sense.
Exactly. So let's get to the why. Why are airport rentals typically pricier?
Yeah, what's driving that 94-hourly average difference?
2 main things. First, taxes and fees, lots of them.
Always the taxes and fees.
Yep. Companies at the airport have to pay extra state taxes, local taxes, airport facility charges, concession fees, you name it. And guess who ultimately pays for those?
You, the renter, of course. So how much of the $94 gap is just down to those mandatory charges?
The estimate is that roughly $54 per week of that difference comes from these unavoidable taxes and fees, assuming the base rental rate was the same.
Okay, $54 explained, but that still leaves, what, $40 unaccounted for in that $94 average?
Right. And that's where the second piece comes in, what we're calling the convenience premium.
The extra charge just for being at the airport?
Essentially, yes. On average, rental companies were adding over $40 a week just for that convenience factor on top of everything else for their cheapest cars.
And you said earlier, probably even more for the bigger vehicles.
Highly likely, yes. They leverage the fact that picking up right after your flight is just easier for many people.
Okay, so you're paying for location convenience, basically. Now, on the flip side, renting off-airport sounds good for saving money. But are there downsides? What do you need to consider?
Definitely things to weigh up. The biggest one is probably transportation to the off-airport rental location.
Right. Airport rentals often have shuttles from the terminal, don't they?
Many do, yes, for the ones technically on airport grounds, but not right at baggage claim. But if you choose a location further away, well, Maui's public transport isn't extensive.
So you're looking at a taxi or a rideshare.
Pretty much. And depending on how far you have to go, that could easily be over $100 each way.
Ouch. So a $200 round trip for taxis could wipe out that 94 weekly saving pretty fast, maybe even cost you more.
It absolutely could. That's a critical calculation you need to make.
What else? Any issues with the cars themselves, like selection?
That can be a factor, especially at those resort locations we discussed. They often have smaller fleets, less variety, and less availability compared to the big airport operations.
So if you want a specific type of car or if you're booking last minute.
Booking well in advance is really crucial for off-airport spots, particularly the resort ones. Don't just assume they'll have what you need if you walk up.
Good advice.
Yeah.
So while the average shows savings, it sounds like off-airport isn't guaranteed to be cheaper every single time or for every situation.
That's correct. We saw the average difference was $94, but during that Jan-May period, the actual extra cost for the airport fluctuated.
Oh, what was the range?
It went from a low of just $24 extra per week at the airport up to a high of $172 extra per week.
Whoa, $172. That's a huge difference. But $24 is pretty small.
Exactly. And we also saw the difference tends to shrink a bit during Maui's slower seasons, the low season. So it really pays to check the current rates for your dates.
Okay, that variability is really important. So putting it all together then, how should you decide? Is saving potentially $100, maybe more, maybe less, worth the extra steps?
That really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Or maybe the $100 question here.
Yeah.
You have to frame that saving against the total cost of your Maui trip. I mean, think about it. Average hotel or condo rates are, what, over $300 a night these days?
Easily. And that's before flights, food, activities.
Exactly. So when you look at the grand scheme of things, is saving, say, $100 on the car rental over a week worth the potential hassle of getting a taxi, maybe waiting longer, especially if you're traveling with kids or lots of gear?
Yeah, for some people, that smooth transition right at the airport using the rental company shuttles might just be worth paying that premium. Peace of mind, maybe. Starting the vacation faster.
It absolutely comes down to personal priorities. How much do you value that immediate convenience versus the dollar saving? There's no single right answer.
It really is a personal calculation. Okay, so we looked at data up to May 24. Any more recent snapshots? How are things looking now?
We do have one more recent data point. As of June 9th, 2024, the off-airport weekly average was about $235, and the airport average was around $263.
So still a difference, about $28 that week, but smaller than the earlier average.
Exactly. It reinforces that prices shift. We also saw some notes from blog posts around April 2025 mentioning prices bouncing around a bit near the Easter holiday. So, yeah. The market moves.
Okay, so let's try and summarize the key takeaways for you listening. What's the bottom line?
The main point is, yes, renting off airport in Maui can often save you money. Our early 2024 data showed an average saving around 31% for a week on a compact car.
And it's a big but, you absolutely have to factor in the cost and hassle of getting to that off-airport location.
Right. Taxis or ride shares can eat into those savings quickly. And remember, those convenient resort locations aren't always cheaper, especially for longer rentals.
So the really practical advice is,
do your homework. Before you book, check the rates for your specific dates and the car type you need. Compare the airport prices directly with off-airport options using the online booking sites.
see what the actual difference is for your trip. Don't just rely on averages.
Exactly. That's the only way to know for sure what makes sense for your budget and your travel style.
Okay. And finally, maybe a thought to leave you with as you plan that amazing Maui trip.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond just the cost, think about the hidden value. What's more important to you on vacation? Is it squeezing every dollar, or is it maximizing your relaxation and fun time? Is potentially saving $100 worth spending an extra hour or two dealing with rental logistics when you could be hitting the beach?
That's it. It's about what you value most on that precious vacation time.